Hey, today we're going to talk about top 3 ways that people overspend on their investments. Investing's an easy game. It's a lot of speculation. It's a lot of guesswork, but it's not really if you do your homework. So we're going to go over 3 main ways that people end up overpaying, those hidden tips, right? So stay tuned. Number 1, hidden costs. When you're buying a house and when you're investing, let's say that you're going to flip this house. Works the same way if you're going to hold it or even if you're going to wholesale it, but there are fees that are involved. Remember, as the investor, you are the last one to get paid. So when you buy the house, more than likely it's up to you to pay for closing costs. Could be just a couple of $1,000s, it could be tens of thousands of dollars. It just depends on the type of property that you're buying. On top of that, now when you go to fix the property, you're going to have your holding costs. Don't forget about your lawn care, right? You don't want a bunch of tags on your house saying that you need to cut the grass from the city. Don't forget about your electric bill, your gas bill, your water bill, right? What if your plumber leaves a pipe open for a day and all of a sudden you got a $500 water bill? You got to factor things like that in, and those are part of your project management. And then when you go to sell the property too, if you're going to go sell the property, you're going to sell it on the MLS. You're going to list it with your realtor. If you're a realtor, if you have somebody on your team, typically you're going to pay them 2.5% to 3%. And then you're going to pay the buyer's realtor as well, another 2.5% to 3%. And then you're still going to pay closing costs. You're going to pay closing costs on a higher amount too, because you've added value to that property through your renovations. So you may have only bought it for $50,000, but you put another $50,000 worth of renovations in it, and now that property's worth $250,000. Well, now you're paying closing costs on $250,000, not on $50,000, and you're paying commissions on $250,000, not on $50,000. So they can add up. That's why that calculation that people run where it's 70% of ARV, that's where a lot of that stuff factors in. Those are costs that a lot of people don't think about. They think that, man, if I buy this property for $50,000, I put $50,000 into it and I sell it for $180,000, I'm going to make $80,000. That's just not the case. So be aware of those hidden fees. Mistake number 2, buying with emotion. I believe it was Warren Buffett. If it wasn't, I'm going to give him credit for it anyway, but he said buy with a calculator and not with emotion. You may really love a neighborhood. You may really think that you've got a knockdown, drag it out, awesome exit strategy. You may think that this property is going to be a short-term rental and Airbnb is going to make me $10,000 a month. Whatever it is, you may just really like the color of the siding. It could be anything, but you fall in love with the property and you don't look at the numbers or address the numbers the way that they should be. Buy with your calculator, not with your heart. If it doesn't pencil out, it's not going to work. Bottom line is there are 2 ways to lose money in real estate. You pay too much for the property, or you renovate your renovations run over. Whether it's time, whether it's budget, whether it's underestimation, whether it's bad contractors, that happens a lot, right? But don't pay too much for the property and then worry about your renovations. If you fall in love with the property before you buy it, and it doesn't pencil right, you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball. Number 3, having a lack of an exit strategy. You got to be prepared. Like I said, real estate is a little bit of a guess game. It's a little bit of speculation. It's not once you do your research and once you do your homework and you have a plan. But at the same time, things happen, things change. You may think that this is going to be an amazing deal and it's going to be a great short-term rental for you, right? But then you come to find out once you buy the property, the localities are putting stops on the legalities behind a short-term rental, and you got to have at least a 30-day lease. You can run into refinancing issues with different properties and stuff like that. Maybe the house doesn't appraise. There's just something that popped up throughout the process and you aren't able to execute that exit strategy. The last thing that you want to do on a flip property, let's say, last thing that you want to do is go to sell that property and think that it's going to be worth $250,000, and then when the buyer comes and they write you an offer, it's for $180,000 and they can't even get the house to appraise for $180,000. You may have $200,000 in it, but the house just doesn't appraise, and so you can't sell it. Right? It may still end up working out for you if you're able to come out of pocket a little bit, or maybe you don't have a lot into it, so you can refinance out, maybe your hard money lender or someone like that, into a more long-term situation and hold that property and wait for appreciation to sell it. I always try to make sure that I have at least one rock solid exit strategy, but I want to have multiple exit strategies. If I'm going to put a property under contract and my plan is to wholesale, I'd like to have another strategy on, if I can't wholesale this property, let's make sure it's at a number that I can do the flip, or that I can refinance out and turn this into a long-term hold for me. I can make it a successful property for me, so I'm not backing out on my contracts and stuff like that. I always try to have at least 2, sometimes 3 exit strategies in place, especially if it's more the non-conventional way, where there are things like midterm rentals, short-term rentals, furnished finders, stuff like that. Those things are great. They're great cash flow, but they also are a volatile market. You don't know if those things are going to go away, if they're going to change. Every locality is different, and every locality is talking about the legalities behind it. So make sure that you have multiple exit strategies so that you're safe.